The Forgotten Corner. Maya Patel smoothed the folds of her lavender bridesmaid dress and tried to ignore the hollow feeling in her chest. The reception hall of the Grand Westview Hotel sparkled with crystal chandeliers and laughter, but from her seat at the far end of the table, it all felt distant. Her cousin Priya's wedding was everything the family had hoped for: extravagant flowers, exquisite food, and a guest list that seemed to include half of Boston's South Asian community. Maya had spent countless hours helping plan the perfect day, from addressing invitations to calming Priya's pre-wedding jitters. Now, as the celebration swirled around her, she felt like a prop that had served its purpose. The other bridesmaids huddled together, taking selfies and giggling with their +1s. Maya glanced at the empty seat beside her, a glaring reminder that at 32, she was still arriving alone to family functions. "Everyone's having such a wonderful time," Auntie Mina commented as she passed by, giving Maya's shoulder a squeeze. "You should mingle, Beta. Your cousin Deepak brought his friend from medical school. Very handsome." Maya forced a smile. "I will in a bit." But she remained seated, watching as her relatives danced beneath the fairy lights. She took a sip of champagne, wondering if anyone would notice if she slipped away early. The wedding coordinator announced dinner would be served soon. Maya reached for her phone, planning to scroll through emails from the literary agency where she worked as an editorial assistant. At least work made her feel purposeful. "Excuse me," a deep voice broke through her thoughts. "Is this seat taken?" Maya looked up to find a tall man with warm brown eyes and a hesitant smile. He wore a charcoal suit that fit his broad shoulders perfectly, and something about his expression seemed genuine in a way that stood out amid the performative joy of the wedding. "It's not taken," she said, quickly putting her phone away. "Though I should warn you, this is basically the Siberia of seating assignments." He laughed, a rich sound that made her instantly relax. "Perfect. I prefer the quieter corners." He extended his hand. "I'm Nathan Reed. I work with Raj, the groom. I just flew in from Seattle and missed the ceremony. Maya Patel, cousin of the bride and apparently guardian of the forgotten table section." Nathan settled beside her, his presence somehow both confident and unassuming. "Lucky me, then. I was dreading walking into a room full of strangers who've already bonded over wedding emotions." Maya found herself smiling genuinely for the first time that evening. "What does one even say? Sorry I missed watching your friend pledge eternal love, but I brought a moderately expensive blender as penance." "Exactly. Though I went with smart home tech. Less practical but more impressive on the gift table." As servers brought out elaborate platters of food, Nathan asked about Maya's connection to the wedding party. She found herself talking easily, something rare for her in social settings. Nathan listened attentively, asking questions that showed he was actually interested in her answers. "So you're the one who created those incredible wedding programs?" he asked. "Raj showed me one earlier. The calligraphy is beautiful." Maya blushed slightly. "It's just a hobby. Nothing serious." "It should be serious. That's professional-level work." Before she could respond, the DJ announced the first dance. As everyone's attention turned to Priya and Raj swaying in the center of the dance floor, Maya felt Nathan's eyes still on her, as if she were the most interesting person in the crowded room. Words that anchor. The wedding reception dinner progressed with waves of laughter and clinking glasses, but in their corner, Maya and Nathan created their own quiet world. As they sampled the fusion menu, cardamom-scented lamb and saffron rice alongside modern American cuisine, Nathan asked about Maya's life beyond being Priya's supportive cousin. "So you work at Horizon Literary Agency?" Nathan's eyes lit with genuine interest. "What's your favorite part of the job?" Maya hesitated. People usually glazed over when she talked about manuscripts and query letters. "I love discovering new voices, finding those stories that deserve to be told, even when the writer doesn't yet believe they have something worth saying." "That's beautiful," Nathan said, leaning slightly closer. "You help people's dreams materialize." "I suppose I do," Maya replied, surprised by his framing. "Though most of my time is spent reviewing rejection letters and organizing my boss's calendar." Nathan tilted his head. "But you want more." It wasn't a question, and the perceptiveness startled her. Maya glanced around at the celebration continuing without them. Priya radiant in her bridal lehenga, surrounded by admirers. "It's silly," she admitted. "I've always wanted to create children's books, stories with characters who look like I did growing up. But I keep telling myself it's not practical, that helping other writers is enough." "Why can't you do both?" Nathan asked softly. Maya fidgeted with her napkin. "It's easier to believe in other people's talent than your own, I guess. I've spent so long being the person who makes things happen for everyone else. The reliable one who remembers birthdays and plans surprises and—" She gestured toward the elaborate centerpiece she'd helped design. "Puts together perfect weddings for her cousin. And who remembers Maya's dreams?" The question hung between them, both gentle and challenging. Maya met his gaze, unable to formulate the practiced deflection she usually employed. Nathan continued, "I recognized something familiar when I saw you sitting here. That look of being simultaneously essential and invisible." "Is that how you feel at work?" Maya asked, turning the conversation away from herself. "Architecture has its moments of glory and its shadows," he acknowledged. "I design spaces where people will build their lives, but sometimes I wonder if I'm actually living mine or just drafting the blueprints for it." The honesty in his admission created a bridge between them. Maya found herself sharing things she rarely voiced aloud: her desire to travel beyond family vacations to India, her collection of half-finished illustrations hidden in her apartment, her fear that at 32, her chance for adventure was slipping away. "You know," Nathan said after listening intently, "we tell ourselves these stories about who we are and what's possible. I'm just the supportive friend, or I've missed my window. But they're just narratives. Maya. They can be revised." The dance floor had filled with guests, the music shifting from traditional Punjabi beats to contemporary pop. Maya watched her younger cousins twirling with abandon. "My grandmother used to say that life keeps offering you the same lesson until you learn it," Nathan continued. "Maybe being in the background isn't your lesson. Maybe it's just where you've been standing while waiting for your cue." Something in his words penetrated deeper than polite reception conversation should. Maya felt a tightness in her chest, a recognition that made her both uncomfortable and alive. "That's a lovely sentiment," she said carefully. "Not a sentiment," Nathan replied, his eyes holding hers. "An observation. You've been writing yourself as a secondary character, but everything about you suggests you're meant for your own story." The wedding coordinator appeared suddenly, breaking their bubble. "We need all bridesmaids for the bouquet toss." Maya reluctantly stood, smoothing her dress. "Duty calls." Nathan smiled warmly. "I'll be here." As Maya walked away, she realized she was hoping, for the first time that evening, that someone would be watching for her return. Dancing in moonlight, the bouquet sailed through the air in a perfect arc, and Maya, standing at the back of the group of single women, found it landing squarely in her unexpecting hands. A chorus of delighted squeals erupted around her as her cousins pushed her forward for the obligatory photo with the bride. "It's a sign!" Priya exclaimed, hugging Maya tightly. "The universe is finally bringing you some romance." Maya smiled politely, enduring the good-natured teasing that followed. As the photographer finished, she glanced toward their table where Nathan was engaged in conversation with an elderly uncle. Even from across the room, he seemed to sense her gaze and looked up, offering a subtle thumbs-up that made her laugh. When Maya returned, balancing the elaborate bouquet alongside a fresh glass of champagne, she found Nathan had saved her seat and procured a plate of desserts. "I noticed you didn't get any when they brought them out," he explained. "The gulab jamun is excellent, but these chocolate cardamom truffles might be life-changing." The thoughtfulness of the gesture, so small yet so rare in Maya's experience, caught her off guard. "Thank you. Most people don't notice things like that." "Most people are too busy performing their own lives to observe others," Nathan replied, sliding the plate toward her. "Occupational hazard of being an architect. I'm trained to notice details and how spaces affect the people in them." Maya selected a truffle. "And what details have you noticed tonight?" Nathan considered her question, his expression thoughtful. "That you're the only bridesmaid who checked on the bride's grandmother to make sure she was comfortable. That you knew where to find safety pins when one of the groomsmen split his pants dancing." His eyes softened. That you light up when you talk about stories, but dim when you talk about yourself. Maya felt exposed and seen simultaneously. The chocolate melted on her tongue as she processed his words. You're dangerously observant, Nathan Reed. Only about things that matter, he replied. The DJ shifted to a slow song, the melancholy notes of Can't Help Falling in Love filling the reception hall. Couples moved to the dance floor, holding each other close under the twinkling lights. Nathan stood and offered his hand. Would you honor me with a dance? I promise I'm reasonably coordinated. Maya hesitated, suddenly aware of her racing heart. I'm not much of a dancer. Neither am I, he assured her. We can be mediocre together. She placed her hand in his, feeling the warm strength of his fingers as they walked to the dance floor. Nathan kept a respectful distance as they began to sway, but Maya could feel the subtle cologne he wore, something with notes of cedar and bergamot, and the steady confidence in his movements. So the bouquet found you, he commented with a smile. Should I be worried you're now cosmically obligated to be the next bride? Maya laughed. I think I'll let the cosmos handle its own scheduling. Besides, my family's expectations are quite enough pressure without adding supernatural forces. As they moved together, the space between them gradually diminished. Maya found herself relaxing into the dance, her hand resting more comfortably on his shoulder. What brought you to architecture? She asked. Was it always your dream? Nathan's expression turned reflective. Not exactly. I wanted to be an astronaut as a kid, actually. But I fell in love with how buildings can change how people feel, how the right space can make someone feel safe or inspired or connected. His hand tightened slightly against her waist. What about you? Were you always the quiet artist observing from the sidelines? The question pierced something vital. No, Maya admitted. I was actually quite bold as a child. Somewhere along the way, I learned it was easier to be the person who helps rather than the one who tries and might fail. The song shifted to another slow melody, but neither moved to separate. Nathan's expression grew serious. Maya, he said softly, sometimes the universe doesn't just hand you bouquets. Sometimes it sends people to remind you of who you were before you started hiding. As they continued dancing under the golden lights, Maya felt something long dormant beginning to stir. Parallel Paths 3. Months after the wedding, Maya stood nervously in the corner of East Side Community Gallery. Her illustrations, 10 pieces featuring a young Indian-American girl exploring worlds hidden in everyday objects, lined the wall of the small exhibition space. The New Voices in Children's Literature showcase had selected her work after she'd finally submitted the portfolio she'd been perfecting for years. They're magnificent, said her co-worker Zoe, studying the whimsical illustration of a child discovering a universe inside a teacup. I can't believe you've been hiding these all this time. Maya smoothed her navy blue dress, still not quite believing she was here as an artist rather than a supporter. I'm still not sure they belong alongside real illustrators. You are a real illustrator, a familiar voice stated firmly behind her. Maya turned to find Nathan, holding a small bouquet of yellow ranunculus and looking at her with undisguised admiration. Her heart performed a complicated gymnastics routine in her chest. Nathan, she breathed, what are you doing here? He stepped closer, his smile warming his entire face. I received an interesting email invitation to a gallery opening featuring promising new talent in children's literature. The name Maya Patel caught my attention. Heat flooded Maya's cheeks. After the wedding, they had exchanged messages for several weeks, light, friendly texts that gradually revealed more of themselves to each other. But when Nathan's firm sent him to Japan for a major project, their communication had tapered off. Maya had sent the exhibition invitation to everyone in her contacts without expecting him to actually appear. You flew from Seattle for this? She asked incredulously. I had business in Boston anyway, Nathan admitted, but I would have found a reason to be here regardless. These are extraordinary, Maya. He handed her the flowers and moved to examine each illustration carefully. Maya watched as he studied the details, occasionally leaning closer to appreciate a particular element. The care in his observation made her work feel significant in a way that even the gallery selection hadn't. "This character," he said, pointing to the girl in her illustrations, "she has your eyes. And your curiosity." "Mira," Maya supplied. "That's her name. She discovers magic in ordinary places." "Like finding connection at a wedding where you expected to feel alone?" Nathan's gaze was gentle with understanding. Maya felt a flutter of vulnerability and courage intertwined. Perhaps. They moved through the exhibition together, Nathan asking thoughtful questions about her creative process while Maya gradually relaxed into owning her accomplishment. Other attendees drifted by, complimenting her work, but Nathan remained steadfastly beside her. During a quiet moment, he said, "I still have that napkin, you know." Maya looked puzzled. "What napkin?" "From the wedding. I wrote down something that night after we talked. I was going to give it to you, but it seemed too forward then." He reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew a carefully folded cocktail napkin with the wedding date embossed in silver. Maya unfolded it to find elegant handwriting. "Remember the woman who helped everyone else shine? It's her turn now." Emotion swelled in Maya's throat. "You wrote this 3 months ago?" Nathan nodded. "I knew it then, watching you at that wedding. Some people are galaxies pretending to be background stars because it feels safer." He gestured toward her illustrations. "I'm glad the galaxy is revealing itself." Around them, the gallery hummed with conversation and movement. But Maya felt anchored to this moment, this recognition of how far she had come since that wedding night and how much Nathan's words had propelled her forward. "There's a cafe around the corner," she suggested, surprising herself with her boldness. "If you're not in a rush, maybe we could continue this conversation somewhere quieter." Nathan's smile reached his eyes. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be." As they prepared to leave, Maya glanced back at her artwork, evidence of the story she had finally started writing for herself. Their own chapter. The cafe was a cozy refuge with mismatched furniture and walls lined with bookshelves. Maya and Nathan settled into a worn leather sofa near the window, where autumn leaves danced across the sidewalk outside. Steam rose from their mugs, chai for her, black coffee for him, creating a fragrant barrier between them and the rest of the world. "So, Japan," Maya began, curling her fingers around her warm mug. "Was it everything you'd hoped?" Nathan's eyes lit up as he described the minimalist architecture, the balance of tradition and innovation, the way light was treated as a precious material. Maya found herself sketching on a napkin as he talked, capturing the essence of what moved him. "Sorry," he said, noticing her drawing. "I can go on about design elements forever." "Don't apologize," Maya replied. "I love watching people talk about what inspires them. The animation in your face, the way your hands move." She pushed the napkin sketch toward him, a simple rendering of his profile, illuminated with enthusiasm. Nathan studied it with reverence. "You have a gift for capturing people's essence." "Only when they're being authentic," she said softly. Their conversation flowed between art and architecture, dreams deferred and newly embraced. Maya told him about resigning from the agency to freelance as an editor while pursuing her illustration. Nathan shared his desire to design spaces that fostered creativity and connection rather than just prestigious corporate buildings. "I've been thinking about what you said at the wedding," Maya admitted, "about writing my own story. It scared me how much those words affected me, how a stranger could see something I'd been hiding even from myself." "Sometimes we need external permission to become who we already are," Nathan replied. "But you did the hard part yourself." Outside, afternoon mellowed into evening. They ordered sandwiches, neither wanting to disrupt the bubble they had created. When Maya described her plan to develop Mira's adventures into a proper children's book, Nathan suggested collaborating, her illustrations alongside stories they could craft together. "My firm has a community initiative creating reading spaces in underserved schools," he explained. "Imagine launching your book in spaces designed to make children feel seen and inspired." The possibility of their separate skills intertwining into something meaningful for others made Maya's heart expand. This was different from her usual supportive role. This was partnership. As darkness fell, they reluctantly prepared to leave. Nathan had an early flight back to Seattle the next morning. "I have something for you," he said, reaching into his bag. He withdrew a small package wrapped in brown paper and tied with twine. Maya unwrapped it carefully to find a handmade sketchbook, its cover embossed with lotus designs. "I found it in a tiny shop in Kyoto," Nathan explained. "The artisan said lotus flowers represent rising from darkness into beauty and enlightenment. It reminded me of you." Maya traced the pattern with her fingertips, overcome by the thoughtfulness of a gift selected months ago by someone who had seen her potential before she fully claimed it herself. "Thank you," she whispered, unable to articulate the fullness in her heart. Outside the cafe, standing beneath a street lamp that cast a golden circle around them, Nathan took her hand. "I have a conference in Boston next month, and the Seattle Public Library has an amazing children's literature program if you ever find yourself on the West Coast." Maya looked at their intertwined fingers, then up to his hopeful expression. The woman who had sat alone at a wedding table would have hesitated, would have qualified her feelings, would have expected disappointment. Instead, Maya stepped forward and kissed him gently, feeling his surprise and then his response, tender and certain. When they separated, both slightly breathless, Maya smiled. "I've always wanted to see the Pacific Northwest, especially in spring." Nathan's eyes crinkled with happiness. "It rains a lot in spring." "Perfect weather for storytelling," she replied. As they walked hand in hand through the autumn evening, Maya thought about how life's most significant turns often came disguised as ordinary moments. A stranger sitting beside you at a wedding, words on a napkin, a kiss beneath a street lamp. The magic Mira found in teacups and mundane objects was real after all. It lived in connections that arrived unexpectedly and changed everything that followed. For the first time in years, Maya wasn't planning someone else's celebration or supporting another's journey. She was the protagonist now, stepping confidently into a narrative still unfolding, with chapters yet to be written. Some perhaps alone, but others, she hoped, alongside the man whose belief had helped her remember her own voice. Above them, stars emerged in the darkening sky, witnessing two people who had found each other by chance and chosen each other by design, proving that sometimes the most beautiful stories begin when we finally become brave enough to claim them.